Right, I'm Nana, a queer. This is GB News. It's time for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, should Sir Keir Starmer be clocking off at 6 o'clock on Friday? That's what he said before becoming Prime Minister. Sir Keir Starmer said he wouldn't work Friday evening to make time to be a dad and to eat with his family, which is all very lovely, isn't it? But as the most powerful person in Britain, is that realistic? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should Sir Keir Starmer be clocking off at 6 p.m. on a Friday? Well, I'm joined now by former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker, editor-at-large of the Mail on Sundays, Charlotte Griffiths, and also chairman of the National Jewish Assembly, Gary Mond. Gary Mond, I'm starting with you. He said he's going to clock off. I know he's got Jewish connections.
He's complying with Jewish tradition in not wanting to work on Friday evening. But those Jews, the Orthodox Jews who don't work Friday evenings, and they don't even work Friday afternoons during the winter time because Shabbat comes in so early, they work full days on Sundays. Is Sir Keir Starmer offering to work a full day on a Sunday? Because that would be consistent with the view of taking Friday evening off.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Charlotte?
I bet you he will end up working on Sunday, and definitely past 6 p.m, but I think it's so nice for Lady Vic, his wife, that he's got these lovely ambitions to come home. I mean, of course, in answer to your original question, it's totally unrealistic. Yeah. And I remember, I've just come back from maternity leave, I remember saying, oh, I'm going to come home to the baby. But of course, once work takes over, you forget all about it, and you're just sort of nose to the grindstone at your computer. So I don't think it's actually going to happen.
Norman Baker.
When I was an MP and a minister, I used to work about 65, 70 hours a week. And I think he'll be working more than that every week. Yeah. And he's going to be more balanced and more sensible as a Prime Minister if he's got family time to spend with his wife and kids. And we shouldn't take that away from him. Of course, if something happens on a Friday which is significant, like, a major event, a terrorist attack or something, of course he'll be working on a Friday evening. You don't want to suddenly knock off in that situation. But if he wants to spend time with his family, good luck to him. So he should.
Well, I think he said come what may, actually. So he's quite so serious about it. Look, but the point of it is that is this, I mean, it's like going to a job interview and then saying, oh, no, I'm not going to work here, there. He will have time with his family, but doesn't specifically be at a set time every week.
It has to be within reason. And don't forget an additional point, and that is that as Prime Minister, he's going to be paid quite a lot more money than backbench MPs. It's expected of him to work more. And while I certainly would not deny him time with his family, it has to be within reason. And Friday, if he wants to take Friday evenings off to have a Friday night dinner in the traditional Jewish style with his family, that's fine. But I would expect to see him working on Sunday, on the other hand.
Do you think?
I'm very interested to see whether the civil service would be working on Friday afternoons, because we all know they like to work from home. They're still on lockdown hours. I can't imagine there's a huge amount of civil servants that are still in at 6 o'clock on a Friday.
But also, he's dealing with international time zones, so it's not quite...
Well, he is. I mean, and no doubt he'll be phoning Joe Biden or whoever the American president is at odd hours. Look, I mean, when I was a minister, there were civil servants who were working odd hours. Those in my private office, those who were very close to ministers were working odd hours. So it's not true that the whole civil service knocks off. My private office was working the same hours as I was working much of the time. But
post-lockdown, you've got to admit that they're a little bit more prone to finishing early.
They should be in the office more. I agree with you. But this is a storm in a teacup. He will do whatever he has to do in order to deliver his duties as Prime Minister, I think. And if there's some major event on a Friday, he'll be working in Downing Street. But he should have some time with his family, and we shouldn't begrudge him.
Yeah, but I think that you're equating people saying, hold on a minute, you can't be set and specific with what time and when, with not having time with the family.
What about Christians who go to church every Sunday? We say, I go to church every Sunday, people might say. Should we say that's knocking off for that? No, we would just respect that's part of the normal week.
It's sort of the weekend, though, isn't it?
What's just Friday evening?
Not really. No, it isn't. No, but it's the weekend.
He really does have to comply with the demands of the job.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a role which requires almost 24/7 attention. And if he didn't want to give 24/7 attention to it, he shouldn't have stood to be Prime Minister in the first place.
I think he will give that.
I think it was a good hard and fast rule in opposition, but clearly he's got to adjust his expectations now, hasn't he?
No, I don't know. Maybe that is his expectation. And he's saying, come what may. They have a massive majority now. I suppose he can do what he likes, right?
I believe so. With 410 seats, he hasn't got any problems in that area. Although, of course, there could be trouble within the Labour Party. He might find in the course of the next 12 months there are rebellions against his policies from the Labour Party, and that will certainly take up his attention if it happens.
I mean, one of the main ones that I know there's sort of opposition within the party is obviously the VAT on private schools, which hasn't gone down well. Even the OBR has said that it may not bring in the money that they're expecting, and if so, it might actually cost the taxpayer. I mean, that one, the unions are already up in arms about it as well, aren't they, Gary?
I think the biggest issue will be the so-called Palestine issue.
Do you think?
Within the Labour Party, yes. There's a lot of left-wing Labour MPs who are sympathetic with the cause for Gaza, mistakenly in my view, of course. But that is the fact, and that is something that Keir Starmer will have to deal with over the course of the next year.
Do you suspect, Norman, that the Labour Party might find themselves in lots of different factions, just like the Tory party? And if so, how soon do you think it's going to kick in? There's obviously a honeymoon period.
I think factions is a too strong way of putting it. But I think...
Do you think?
Yes, but I think there'll be, of course, 412 Labour MPs are going to be with different priorities. Some will be focused on Palestine, as not least of all because their constituency is concerned about it. Others will be focused about the health service. I mean, others will be focused about sewage and the environment. I mean, nothing wrong with that. And the issue is whether Keir Starmer gives them this freedom, if you like, the space to express their views within a coherent party, or whether he tries to organise them so they can't say what they think, they're not independently minded and that's not welcomed, or whether, in fact, that leads to factions if people try to shut up other members of the party.
But sorry.
Well, all of these are great examples of how many flare-ups can happen on any day at any time.
Exactly.
Sure. And at that point, say there was a big problem with one of the marches, he's just going to have to down tools at home and just drop everything and be on it. And so these are all great examples of why he's completely unrealistic to think he can finish at 6.
But the fact that he even said it, the fact that he even said it there just shows a bit of level of naivety, surely.
Yeah, it does a bit. And actually, the way he said it was so boorish and sort of, I'm going to do things my way. It does actually sort of worry me that if that's how prescriptive he is about everything, there might be some trouble ahead.
I don't think he shouldn't have said come what may. He said come what may.
He did say that, yeah.
But I mean, apart from that, I mean, the idea he wants to spend time with his family on a day that's important to his religion seems to me to be entirely laudable.
Yes, entirely laudable. Is it realistic,
It is laudable that he should try to, but as you say, the words come what may are not acceptable in this context when you're Prime Minister.
Well, a lot of people won't see it that way as well, because a lot of people have to work on a Friday and they can't just go, oh, well, I'm not going to do it come what may. If the boss asks you to do overtime, you do overtime.
And the one aspect I completely reject is the Jewish tradition aspect with regard to Sundays. But on Sundays, a lot of religious Jews who would keep Friday night and keep the Shabbat work on Sundays. Indeed, they even work on Saturday evenings during the winter when Shabbat goes out early.
I will lay you a bet, not a Conservative bet, by the way, the sort of that resolve in advance, but I'll lay you a bet that he'll be working on Saturday and Sunday.
Well, he said, his words were, we've had a strategy in place and we'll try to keep it, which is to carve out really protected time for kids. So on a Friday, I've been doing this for years. I will not do a work-related thing at 6 o'clock, pretty well come what may.
Pretty well.
There are a few exceptions, but that's what we do.
Well, he says he's been doing it for years, but he wasn't running the country in years gone by, so he'll just have to adjust that. I mean, who can begrudge a man for caring about their kids? It's a nice, noble aim, but it's not going to happen.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's nice. Everyone cares about their kids. I mean, the majority of sensible adults care about their kids, and I'm sure everybody would like to be able to say, I'm going to down tools now every Friday. But I don't think it's realistic. Gary, do you think it's realistic?
No.
Well, Norman Baker, do you think it's realistic?
I think pretty well come what may is better than come what may.
It's very vague, isn't it? Pretty well, come what may. He's a master of not sort of fully giving you an actual answer.
He was probably trying to win over the wives and mothers, out there, possibly like myself, who thought, oh, that's nice. He wants to look after the kids. Isn't that sweet? But he probably didn't really mean it if he said pretty well, come what may.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, he was obviously trying to win over the Jewish community, I suspect, as well.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I think Orthodox Jews would ask the question that I've just asked. Will he be working on Sundays?
To make up for the Friday.